What is up guys, it is Haz here, and today I thought I would show you this little valley build that I've been working on. I started off by using a bit of terraforming and removing the trees around the edge of this little circle I wanted to use. Once I'd got around to doing that, I selected a sand brush of about 5 and used the sphere brush to go all the way around and create myself a small looking valley. I then went around that with a cylinder brush just to smooth around the edges and give it a bit more detail and make it more realistic than having all lumps and bumps. And you can see if you use a sphere brush, you can see the spheres more easier, whereas if you go over it with a cylinder brush it looks a bit more natural than just using the sphere itself. Once I'd done that, I masked the sand and went over it with grass and just made it into like a little hill biome. From here I decided I'd add a little water pool down in the bottom, so I just got to work with that. Had a few little problems with this because the water kept going everywhere when I was trying to use commands, so I thought I'd just do it by hand and it made life a lot easier. Once I had played around with the water and made the pool, I went around the edges and turned all the dirt into stone to make it look like it's more in a hilly valley. More of a valley than a hill biome. The stone definitely gives it a better effect. It's just mountain tops and the grass have grown on top of it. So definitely recommend using that if you want to make a valley. I then just went around and bone mowed everything just to give it a bit of an effect.
It looks something like this.
If you guys want to know how to build this house, please let me know and I will drop a tutorial on how to build. This house actually took me quite a while to make, as I was playing around with it a lot, but it's definitely a really nice, decent sized house, and the upstairs of it is really nice. It definitely gives off a more of an old school medieval themed style to it, but it also looks quite modern at the same time, which I really like. The house was definitely something that took me a long time because I had to play around with it a lot, but I definitely think playing around with houses is how you get better at them, and generally give them more detail and just a better look. As you can see, I went for a different style of roof on this, where I actually extruded the roof up one because the front of the house didn't actually quite match up to the height that I wanted it. So I thought if I bring it out by one and bring it up by one, it will actually look a lot better. I did notice that I took a very long time on this house compared to the rest of the build, which is quite odd. But I still think the house is definitely something that needed to be added to this, just to give it a great effect. I went for more of a medieval valley that's kind of being built at the same time, and it's got a lot of people working around it, so it's like a workers' quarters, and they're trying to build a little town in here. From here onwards I went and built a crane. The crane was just literally to make it look like the house had recently been built, and I added a bunch of planks around the bottom just to look at planks with rails over them, just to make it look like the crane had been transporting wood from one place to another, and they've built this house recently. The crane is obviously still there at the time and will help build the rest of the village. I then started playing around with the campfire to make a little pier that goes out to the water, so you can fish out on there. And I just started playing around with little designs of that, and I just went with a really basic one in the. As you don't know how to use the campfires, you just place them and put water on them. It will get rid of the fire. Next up, I decided to build a little trading stand or marquee, and just literally went round, built that, added a bunch of barrels, and then added some frames with items in the frame to look like the barrel storing that item in it. It just gives a bit more detail to the build. Once I'd done that, I kind of went to the back and decided that this area needed a farm. So I started to get to work on that. I didn't want to build a flat farm, so I built it up on the cliff here, going upwards, so it looks a bit more realistic. I did a nice little entrance to the farm as well. I just went around literally bone mealing the farm, just bringing it to life a bit, giving it some detail. From here onwards, I would decide, I think I'm going to start using the path and just add routes from one place to another. Once I'd done that, I believe I went on to creating a little mine shaft or a mine area that we could use for later dates, or if you ever lived here, somewhere you could go and mine. First I started playing around with carts. I actually didn't know what kind of style cart to build, and actually I think I gave up on the cart in the end, and went with some more logs and just added a bit of decoration to the place instead of making it look too empty. As you can see, I'm still playing around with that cart design, and I'm pretty sure I actually grew up in a second. I probably could have made a better cart now, but at the time I just couldn't quite get the cart that I wanted. So I started playing around with the wood logs, looking like we've just literally built this little valley, and we're still working on it. I then went round and added a few street lights to the place, just to give it a bit more brightness and more realism to the game, looking like it's actually a used town. This style of light or lamppost I actually used from Geracraft. I then went and built a little structure and put scaffolding to make it look like the building is being built in the at the time. Scaffolding is a great way to make things look like they're being built. And then I went and added that mine shaft I talked about now. Didn't really do too much to it, literally just added an entrance and a minecart on top of some campfires to make it look a thicker rail. And then decided I would make a little overhang at the exit to finish this build off really. So I hope you guys like this video. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe for more. And peace.